This episode is made possible by New Masters Academy, the world's #1 online art school. Please check the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for animation.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Now today we're going to talk about, should creatives take breaks?
But before we get into it, make sure to smash the like button
Over there.
because it really does help smaller channels like us grow. So please and thank you. We're going to talk about taking breaks, the idea of taking vacation time, and whether or not artists should do it. Because if you didn't already know, artists seem to be a little bit like workaholics.
Yeah, I brought up this topic idea to you because I'm planning on taking a break sometime in December. Mm-hmm. Seems like a good time. I mean, it's the holidays. It's always nice to add more vacation days on top of that. So yeah. It's on our minds.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about how I thought about taking vacation time and breaks, and also like how it applies to when you're in school too. So when you are a student, you should be working hard. And I don't know, I feel like working hard in school and working hard at work is a little bit different because like you should be working hard at learning a lot.
Yeah.
Like it's your one time in your life where that's literally all you have to think about, because afterwards you rarely get such a large chunk of time just to focus on yourself and to learn, which is great. But I would recommend for students in particular that instead of focusing on getting through school as fast as possible, I would recommend you to take large chunks of time off, but specifically either to get work experience or for some kind of project or whatever. Because I did that 1 year. I took not a year off, I took a term off. So I basically had a summer vacation, which I guess might be normal for other schools, but for our school was abnormal.
I don't remember what that feels like.
Yeah. And I interned. And every time I ever took any time off from school was to continue learning in my own time, like to actually apply the skills that I was learning in school. Because in school, you're so focused on soaking up the information and not actually getting good at applying it. So I would take time, some summers to do that, to like work hard in a way to like really solidify the information in my brain. And I think it's like, again, it's like the only time in your life that you get to really learn and focus on yourself. And every time afterwards you're trying to find a job or trying to do a lot, you have a lot of adult responsibilities, and I really recommend that time. What about you?
I think it's a really good thing to do. I didn't do it until so much later in the school term, later in my school life, my college experience. Yes. I didn't get to have a internship actually until after I graduated. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
And I wish I did it during school. And I always thought like, I needed to, I don't know, be at a certain skill level to do an internship. No, I think there's a lot of internships that you could do even if you've only been in school for 6 months or something like that. You're going to learn a lot. Yeah. You learn a lot at school. Like there's a lot of things that I still apply back then that I do now, but there are things that I would have never learned, at school unless I've done it at the job.
Yeah. I definitely feel like I wish I took more breaks. I wish I went through school like a normal college student and didn't like also take summer terms and stuff like that, because every summer, like in one summer, I got so much done and I really applied and learned a lot doing work experience stuff and whatever. But like one of the things I always wanted to do was to make an animated short while I was in school, because Art Center doesn't really do that. I wanted to do it while I was in school, but like I never had the time. I never had enough time to do that. And if I had just taken some summers off to do that, that would have been amazing. Or even to like I knew a lot of people who sold at conventions and stuff like that.
Oh, that I wish I did.
Early.
Yeah.
I wish I took summers off to do that.
I think even if you're in high school, you should try to start doing that where everybody's able to. Mm-hmm. I think start as soon as possible. If let's say you're in high school and you're into posting your art on Instagram, and then people are really excited for what you do next, I think it's time to sell prints, and you're probably selling them online already. I think selling them in person at a convention is a big step. Hopefully we get to do that again really soon.
But then you transition to working, and no matter what job you are, I have this like way of thinking about what it's like to go from like a college student to like a jaded, grumpy adult who's like just I'm an employee for whoever. And it's this: when you finally get your dream job and you're like, wow, this is so amazing. This is what we in the industry call you're green. You're really green. And in that like first year, there's like this honeymoon period when with you and your quote unquote dream job. And everything is amazing. You're like, wow, this is the best thing ever. I can't believe I finally made it. And then by like the end of the first year, you start feeling a little bit tired. And you're noticing certain things at work, and you're like,
I'm not sure if I like that.
Yeah. Your dream becomes a little bit more, you're coming back down to reality a little bit. And so you're like, okay, interesting, noted. But by then you still have a lot of energy.
But like, this is mostly good, still mostly good.
Yeah, right? You have a lot of energy, a lot of gusto. And then by your second year, you're kind of feeling tired now. Like you're admitting to yourself, okay, this is a job, and I mean I'm grateful for this job, but why am I tired? Why am I tired all the time? And then you start like having a much less enthusiasm, and that's I think when you start feeling like, okay, I kind of need a break. I need to take a break. And then by the third year, if you still haven't taken a break, you start really getting kind of miserable. You're just like, I'm really tired, and I want to do more. Like I want to do more when I'm not at work on my side hustle, or to I don't know, whatever creative hobby you have outside of work. You just have no energy to do it, but you're kicking yourself. You're like, what's wrong with me? And then if you still haven't taken a break by your fourth year, you're like, I need like a month. I need a month off at the end of the year in order to, I don't know, stay sane. What do you think about this, since you're kind of in your, I don't know, second year-ish?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, if you're tired, then you should just take a break. But I think it's really difficult to choose between taking time for yourself and being kind to yourself and letting yourself relax and just being good to yourself versus let's make some more motherfucking money.
Yeah.
And that's what always keeps us working. And then there's like a lot of factors as to why we have to feel like we need this.
Yeah.
Every freelance that comes our way, every opportunity, we need it because first of all, it never feels stable.
Yeah.
Especially if like it's very difficult to get on a syndicated show, especially when on your first try. Mm-hmm. A lot of people start out on shows that like are pilots, or not everybody's sure if, this will have more than 2 seasons. But I think when you do get into a show that's syndicated and, there's like 20 seasons, then, then every day starts to like, blend together. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So for those of you who don't know, the entertainment industry, specifically in animation, I'm talking about, it's not a very stable industry, and I know a lot of people who go into animation think it is for some reason, but because it's like, oh, I want to work for a company like Disney, and then if Disney chooses me, they don't just lay off the artists that they hire. I mean, they say they're an employee, so they have like contracts, right? Or like they have some length of time they're supposed to be there. That's what a lot of people think working in animation is like. Oh
man, I wish. I mean, it's really hard to get a job like that.
I would say like near impossible.
You have
not
to
impossible, just
really lucky to get on a show that just like goes on and on and on. You have nothing to worry about.
Yeah. So,
but what's interesting that if you could think of a lot of shows that are past 20 seasons, and I'm sure 2 come to mind immediately. We know, or we've seen, or at least as acquaintances, some of those people who work on those shows. Not the happiest of people.
No, it's so funny. It's like a lot of us, people who are young in the industry, in the animation industry, just wish for some semblance of stability, and then you see the people who have it on the syndicated shows, and
all they want to do is like, I want out of here.
Yeah, they're like, get me out of here. Please get me out of here. I can't tell you why. But
why though? Is it just it is a show that goes on forever and it is demanding on your creativity?
I think syndicated shows feel different because it has gone on for so long. There are certain like rules about how to do certain things, and it's almost cookie cutter in the way each episode is made. So there are certain things like I think Family Guy, like people straight up, they don't even really draw the characters anymore. They have like stamps.
Certain poses.
Yeah.
Like Peter doing this, Peter doing that.
Literally, they have stamps. They don't draw anymore. And then they use so many layers to move the arms because it looks exactly like the show already in board
So
form.
you would imagine that most of these people working on these shows grew up drawing He-Man or something, Ninja Turtles on their like sketchbooks, and now they're just stamping Peter everywhere.
Yeah, and
then, like, you can only imagine
how you will go insane after a while. Yes.
But I think there are certain shows where you get lucky. I can think of a few shows that went on for a long time, that they went all sorts of crazy, fun, interesting places, and maybe you'll get lucky enough to be in one of those shows. But in the beginning, it's going to be a lot of you work somewhere for 6 months and then you're looking for a job for 3 months, and then you work at somewhere for 8 months and you're looking for a job for 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, when we in TV get hired, most of the time you're only really guaranteed the season that you're on.
Yeah.
If that, in case they get canceled.
So if you get on a show, and this rarely happens onto itself, you get onto a show as it's starting.
Yeah. And then it gets canceled.
Well, I mean, like, if you get, like, my feeling is if I got into a show that hasn't even, like, had its first episode air yet, I'm thinking, like, oh, I at least have 8 months to a year.
Yes.
At the very least. And then I've learned so many times from being laid off to never hope for anything beyond what we have and what we know we have.
Yeah.
Because when you start hoping, like, oh, maybe we'll get a second season. Oh, maybe this pilot will, be a thing. Yeah. And then you realize it's not a thing. And then you're out there looking for work again. And then you just start the whole thing all over again.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because we're project based.
Right.
So we're employees because, we're hired on for a potentially longer period of time than a freelancer, but we are essentially project based.
Right. Like, so let's say back then when I guess 5 years ago, if you landed a show like Adventure Time, you'd be like, I can't believe it. I hit the jackpot. Because when you land a show like that, you never have to, or at least you could feel and you can like really rest a little bit easier.
Yeah, you're like, I have stability finally. I know I have at least another season.
Yeah.
At least another one.
Every show that doesn't have more than 5 seasons, it feels like you're on a house of cards that could easily collapse.
Yeah, and especially if you're on like a pilot or like the first season of a show, you don't even know if you have number 2. So
yeah, like I've been on a pilot before that didn't make it. It was one of those things where it's like, wow,
like all that, like
we'll never see the light of day, and it's like, whoa, my first project was a pilot that never saw the light of day, and it was like a crazy lesson of like never to hope for anything.
Yeah.
I remember telling my friends in the show, like, oh, I really have hope, and then at a certain point they were like, you should stop.
Yeah.
You need to stop. And I'm like, really? Oh, okay.
I think
that's the green.
Yeah.
That's the green in me.
Yeah.
It's like there is no hope in Hollywood.
You
what
expect
the hell?
for the worst, and if it does happen, that's great. But you prepare for the worst.
Because the worst is always going to happen.
Yeah, at one time or another.
Yeah.
So like,
you're going to be on a show where you get laid off. That's like a guarantee.
Yeah.
No one's going to like dispute us on that. You will feel it.
Yeah.
You will know what it's like to have the rug just taken from you and you're just slipping and you're out there looking for work.
Yeah. There's no such thing as like an artist that's like hired forever at a studio. It's just when your show ends, when your movie ends, when whatever ends, you're bye-bye. See you later. Maybe.
And that's why people already, like, let's say people are lucky enough to be on a syndicated show. Do you think they relax? They don't. No. You know what they do? They take on more work because they know, like, oh, I'm so lucky. What would be better than this? I need more work. Which is like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, it's like as long as you feel like you're being kind enough to yourself and you're not like, destroying your bodice just for your nest egg.
So like,
that's not worth it. Would you say that's worth it?
No.
Because you've done that.
Yeah.
You were the one who like hardly ever took a vacation.
Yeah.
In your 4 years.
In life.
Yeah. Whereas in a lot of the people on like Disney TV, they like go out to like Thailand or wherever for vacation. For 4 years straight, you didn't take a single fucking vacation. You probably took a week.
That they gave me. Like,
how many vacations have you probably had in your 4 years of being hired?
I didn't take it. I don't think I took any of my vacation days in 4 years. I would use some of them. No. Well, no. Yeah, no. I don't think.
You're a crazy person.
Yeah, I saved every single vacation day and I cashed them out whenever.
She just takes the money over the time.
But,
there are a few people in animation who would go that far. There's a lot who like still go far.
Yeah.
But that's crazy.
Farther than me.
You'd rather just cash out every single vacation day.
I felt like I was going insane there near the end because of it. But so so if you are...
Oh, right. We have to explain what all of this means. I forgot. Sorry.
So if you are not familiar with our particular industry, for the most part in TV, if you get lucky enough to get on at the beginning, a lot of people get on like in the middle sometimes of a season, but if you're lucky enough to get on at the beginning of one season, you probably have 9 months of work, maybe, unless your show gets canceled. And then what happens after that? Like, people always go, like, I remember I was telling this to my friend who is completely not in the art industry world at all, and I was like, she was like, oh, so like, why are you always so worried? And then I was like, well, because I'm probably going to be laid off in like 3 months. And then she was like, wait, you mean you're not like hired at the company? Like for how, like, you know, and I was like, no, every time like I'm on this show and when this show ends, I'm not fired, but I'm laid off. Like there's no more
There's nothing
work
for me to do.
Yeah.
There's no reason for the studio to keep me.
And then she was like, oh, wow. So what do you do? And I have to find another job. and then she was like, oh, that's really stressful. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, it is.
It sucks.
Yeah, you always feel like you might get laid off. You might get laid off. And I don't think you comprehend that until you're in it, and then you constantly have this fear. So like, why would you take vacation days if you know that like 3 months from now, 6 months from whenever you got hired, you're gonna get laid off?
Yeah, I just thought of something right now. I was thinking about the difference between stress of college, especially going to a college that we went to, versus the stress of adult working animation life. And the stress is interesting. I mean, it's, you know, typical college stress. You know, you want to do a good job, get good grades, and you hope that you do good so that, you know, one day it'll all pay off and all that stuff. But there's a lot of stress in trying to get those things accomplished, right?
Yeah.
When you're an adult and let's say you're fortunate enough to accomplish those things, then it feels like the stress then becomes, I hope I stay on this show because I don't want to go out there and look for work again.
Yeah. And
I would be in those situations and I'd be so strung out in ways like I've never been strung out before in my entire life, just because like it's not I'm not even enjoying the moment because I'm terrified of the day I have to, you know, say goodbye to everybody and then I get thrown out and I have to look for work again.
Yeah.
It's the life, and I did sign up for the life. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not complaining or anything, but that doesn't mean that I'm not afraid to be on a show that, like, let's say has only lasted for like 3 seasons. I'm like terrified every single day.
And I'm sure this is the case for any other job out there. This is not just any like corporate job, but it's really hard to get vacation days for here in the US. Like, we at most, if you use 0 vacation days throughout the year, by the end of the year you probably have 2 weeks. So that's like an entire week. An entire year working and 2 weeks off a year. And then it either cashes out for the next year or it rolls over. So maybe by the second year you'll have 4 weeks, and then so on and so forth. So yeah, and you know, I also think, like, I don't know if people outside of a creative industry would understand, but you get really mentally drained in our jobs because we're constantly being creative. The only way I can describe it is because for me, around my second year of working, I felt kind of... So this is how I was when I got hired. When I got hired, I was like so gung-ho, like I was going to do great things, I'm going to work really hard to prove myself, and I'm going to do this like convention thing, and I had so much energy, and like I said, you're like, wow, this is amazing. I get to draw.
Mom, cat, no. Okay.
I get to draw for work, and then I get to go home and draw, and I get to draw on the weekends. And then by like the second year, I started feeling a little bit fatigued, and being who I am, I was like, suck it up. Suck it up. You're being lazy. So I would just kind of push that feeling back and ignore it and be like, I don't understand I was so energetic before, so therefore now I'm just whining about nothing.
Right.
And then by like the end of the second year, I felt genuinely like tired, and I couldn't explain it, and I kept going like, stop being such a bitch, stop being such a pussy, and like just, you know, get over yourself. This isn't hard work, and like you were able to do this like a year ago, fine. Why stop complaining? So by the second year, I was like, should I take my vacation days? But again, I had that fear of like I might be like let go at any moment. So I'm just gonna take the money, and I'm fine. What's wrong with me? I'm fine. And then by like the third year, what I realized was like I should have taken that break, because and used some of my vacation days, because I realized like, oh, this time I'm still just as tired. If anything, I need more time. Like before, I thought maybe I needed like 2 weeks or something. Now I need like a month, if not more. And by the fourth year, because I didn't take any breaks, I was like, I think I'm going insane. Like, I'm so tired. At that point, like, there is no trying to do your hobby at like after work. It's just impossible to like do anything creative. And what it feels like is like the weekends feel like they're great, but you come back feeling like the entire week you really depleted your creative energy, and then the weekend happens and you get some of it back, but not all of it. And 3-day weekends are great. It feels like I got a good amount of it back. There's still a little bit of you that's like, okay, I'm kind of tired. But then the more days that happens, the more it just feels like you're never being replenished. Like your creative energy at like the fourth year of working straight, no vacations, no breaks, I was kind of like, I'm really tired, and no matter how much I sit myself down and like try to use my creative energy outside of work, I was like, why isn't my brain working? Like I can't seem to like I'm used to forcing myself to do things. I'm like my body's like, no more. I need a break.
Yeah, they say, I remember listening to a few gamers and a few game critics talk about how many calories they need. And there's just one guy who's not, you know, he's actually pretty fit, who's a gamer, and he says like he needs to have like a steak and eggs every morning right before he reviews a game. And I'm like, damn, a steak and eggs? You're like some sort of bodybuilder or something. But this guy's just playing video games, and you know, it takes a lot, I guess, of mental energy, but it takes a lot of energy to draw, and it takes a lot of mental energy to compose and think of a scene and then research and then dream up you know, all of these amazing props and have a place for all these characters to act and all these things. Like, it takes a lot. And I remember like being really close to graduating and watching this really awesome Fengzu video, and he said something like, when I do client work, he said when he does client work, he always starts the morning with thumbnails and stuff, because that takes the most effort, because you're setting up this scene, you're designing the architecture, you're using so much mental energy, whereas in, you know, I think he sends his thumbnails and stuff during right before lunch, so that his client can have the entire lunch to look it over and then get back to him. And when they get back to him, let's say at like 1 or 2, he has the rest of the evening and afternoon or evening to just paint up the thing, which, you know, painting does require a lot out of it. Does require energy, but then it's a lot of, I don't know how to explain
meditative,
it. It's more meditative.
Yeah. And, you know, you also said recently that you have this fear that you're going to be replaced when you take a vacation.
Yeah, that's right. I was thinking like, oh, I really want to take this big break. It would be just this amazing cherry on top of this piece of shit year. It'd be just such a nice thing to have to make everything kind of worth it for me. And like a vacation for me would be just I mean, like we've been thinking about traveling to like out of state somewhere, like maybe like Austin, and eat tons of barbecue. But I think if it ends up just me being in this house playing music all day long, that sounds amazing to me. But then the biggest thing is like I guilt myself. First of all, I think like, oh man, like, you know, I should be working, or I should just, you know, cash in my vacation hours. And did we explain that properly, how that works?
Cashing in your vacation hours?
Yeah.
Like having it, oh, I guess not.
Yeah. Because I thought we were going to explain it. That's why.
Cashing in our vacation hours, meaning like sometimes our vacation, depending on the studio you work for, your vacation hours don't roll over or save to the next year. So they'll just pay you for that amount.
Or you could just ask to, you know, I think in other studios they kind of stack on, but instead you could ask for them to get paid out, I think, right?
They don't get paid out unless you leave.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I forget that. Oh, that's right. That's right. Oh, that's interesting.
If you like listening to podcasts, audiobooks, and all things audio while you work, and you don't already have an Audible subscription, head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast, where you will get a free Audible trial. You will get 1 free audiobook and 2 free Audible original audiobooks. They also have a lot more than just audiobooks. They have meditation, news, so much more. Thousands and thousands of things you can listen to. So head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast and get your free trial.
I was thinking like, oh, you should just cash in your vacation hours. And then I would think like, and then I get really crazy and I think, oh no, what if like they use this time to replace me, and then like I have to look for a job, and then I'd hate myself forever taking that break. And like I don't know, like you think of all sorts of, your imagination runs wild, and then I can easily see why people just go like, I'm just gonna work more.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna work more. It's like less. I know only good things happen when I work more, so I'm just gonna work more.
Yeah, you keep like putting your stability over your sanity, I think is what it is. Everyone's just really worried, like, especially sometimes people are on hiatuses, which you think hiatuses are great, right? You're guaranteed another season, and you get a little bit of a break, but you're not paid for that hiatus.
Yeah. So
a lot of people either make up for that by taking on more freelance while they were working, so that during their hiatus it's kind of like a vacation. But also like some projects are on hiatus forever, and it's you
just never come back.
Yeah. And like what that ends up doing is we keep taking more and more work on, or just going more and more years without a break and a vacation, until we break. And for me, I was like, peace out. But like for a lot of other people, they take what I would like to call sabbaticals. So a lot of people will work for like 3, 4, 5, 6 years straight, and then you can kind of tell when they're like, I can't, I'm like a dry raisin. You suck the life out of me. They look like exhausted. I'm sure I look exhausted.
Oh yeah, you look like shit when you were at Disney.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, I'm so tired.
Yeah,
I can't live. And then they'll like all their vacation days they've saved up, hopefully, unless they like got laid off and then had to go to another show and then it has to restart again. They've been at whatever studio for as long as they could be at the time, and they'll be like, okay, how many vacation days do I have? And then they'll be like, I'm gonna take like a month off. I'm gonna take like 6 months off, and that's what I would like to call a sabbatical, even though like not 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 weeks off.
Oh man, 6 months. Amazing. Wow. What I would give for 6 months, man.
But most people take the most I've ever seen was like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And you know, whether it helps or not, I don't know for sure, but for the most part, I feel like when they come back from it, it's not like they're rejuvenated. It's like they want another 6 weeks.
Yeah.
They're kind of like having time to do things. Was great. Can't I just have that forever? Like they look like all they want to do is go back to Thailand or like their vacation or whatever. But I mean, you have this interesting advice to help prevent all of this, to help be like don't you don't necessarily have to choose between like vacation, not vacation, breaks, or at least how to prevent from going insane.
Yeah, I think it helps just to have hobbies or a life outside of work, whether it's like some sort of, if you're really into working out or climbing or I don't know, you're into playing music or something, you got to do something outside of work. And I think there are some artists who can still do art outside of work, but it's a long life, you know? Yeah. Like I'd rather, I don't know, exercise the mind or the body, because I've been drawing 8 hours a day or something.
Yeah. I definitely noticed people are able to stay more sane if they have hobbies outside of art and work. It kind of has to be not art or creatively, because you're already using so many of your creative juices at work. It kind of has to be something else.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say video games, because I'm not sure about every professional. I don't know. Almost every professional plays video games. Would you agree?
Yeah.
At least some sort of video game.
Yeah.
I always feel guilty. Always. That nagging feeling of like, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing playing video games?
Being unproductive.
What are you doing trying to land that 360 no scope? You should be drawing, or you should be playing music, you should be watching a movie, like anything but this.
Yeah. But in my opinion, when you said that, I was like, I think it helps for sure. I think it helps people, like those people who have those things are always the people I like being friends with at work, because I'm like, oh, you are a sane human being who cares more than just like
making connections.
Yeah, or like, you know, what I don't understand are like the Disney freaks who are like, they know anything and everything about Disney, and I'm like, dude, I don't love Disney.
Why
that
do we
much.
tolerate weebs more than Disney heads then?
I don't know. Maybe because I'm not making the anime.
Maybe.
I think it's just like, I don't know. It's just weird to me. I'm like, man, you know a lot about this place.
Yeah.
Like, too much. This is scary. But I don't think they're immune to still needing like a good length of time to recover, even if they do have hobbies outside of work. I think it definitely delays it and makes you a more well-rounded, sane human being. But I definitely think it everyone goes through it. I think even if you are trying to be more not have animation or whatever be your life. And I was also I also remembered, as we were talking about this topic, this animated short that I saw that played in front of a Pixar movie and called Inner Workings. And I thought it was really funny that like someone at Pixar made this because it kind of depicts what a healthy work-life balance in animation is like. Where like this, I don't know if I should spoil it, but like if you want to know what it's like to work in animation, it's like that. And I think the moral of it is to just take breaks. Like now that you are finally going to take your first break, hopefully in December,
Yeah, so this break is a lot different from the breaks before, because the breaks, I would use vacation days all the time because we'd have to do conventions, and like I need to be able to go to a convention and all that stuff. So I would use vacation days, but now because of COVID, sucks that we don't have any conventions to do. It's a real bummer. But what's neat about that is that I haven't had to use hardly any vacation days at all. I don't think I even have. So I have a lot. I mean, I could take
2 weeks.
2 weeks, but like on top of Christmas.
Yeah.
So it could be a nice chunk where I just get to relax. And what I'm most excited of is like, if I ever quit my job and just did this all day, what would that look like? And that's what December is going to look like.
That'd be really cool.
I'm just going to be me and enjoy my life. And then I'm just going to set up cameras everywhere while I make weird experiments with things.
But your advice would definitely be to take your vacations.
I mean, I guess. Yes. I think yes, but it depends on the situation. If you're saving up for a house, you save up for a house and you want to grind and sacrifice the bodice for that, then go ahead. It's your life. But I hope that people know what the trade-off is. I think many times people are just so callous with themselves and they're not kind enough to themselves, and just like take more and more and more, which is good if you can do it and if you know how to manage it. But if you don't, what are you doing? Take a break.
I would definitely, as someone who like did not take any breaks, and
how would someone know that they really need to take this break versus, I'm sure there's probably somebody right now thinking like, should I take this break or should I just cash it in? And you were the one to cash it in, and I'm here actually going to take the break. So what did it feel like?
I wish I took a break every time I could. I wish I took the max amount of my vacation days every year, and actually went on vacation and not like worked more, which is what I would do. And then because I didn't use any of them, and I really feel like maybe I could have lasted longer. I don't think so, actually, in animation. Like, maybe I could have lasted longer in animation without, like feeling like I'm going insane.
Probably 2 years longer.
Maybe, yeah. And it's just, like, you don't realize what you're sacrificing until, like, much later on. Like now I regret it. Now I'm like, man, I really could have, like, I don't know, traveled more or worked on my side hustle more. Like, at the very least, like, you could work on your side hustle like more intensely if I had done that. Yeah, it's something that I definitely regret, because I feel like maybe for me and maybe for a lot of people in animation, because whatever industry that you're in, and it just so happens to be a really not stable industry, I'm thinking of like any kind of gig worker or freelancer or whatever. I think the faster you can get comfortable with the instability, the better. Because
it's just the way of life.
Yeah.
This is what you chose, and this is how it is. I think I'm really starting to feel that way now, but it took a while.
Yeah. And I say that because, like, it's not that, like, it's wrong to fear having to find a new job in 9 months or whatever, however many months, constantly on your mind, and constantly knowing that, like, these young kids are, like, being pumped out of school, just, like, ready and able to take my job. So, like, I better be, like, on my A game. Just, like, so many worries. Like, I think at the end of the day, it's pointless to worry about that, and you're wasting your energy and your time. And if you're making decisions because you're scared of lack of money, that's not necessarily the best place you want to be in your head. Because like if I had made better, just like back then, if I wasn't so scared of the instability of life as in an entertainment industry, I think I would have made different decisions with like my money. Like instead of like hoarding it all, like sure I can like leave Disney now and like pursue this other thing because I hoarded it all, but I could have used a little bit of it to like travel, and that would have like,
and be kind to yourself. Yeah, take care of yourself. Yeah,
or to use that time to invest more maybe into Honey and Absinthe then, and maybe I wouldn't have had to like save so much money back then anyways, because Honey and Absinthe would be further ahead because I already took that time. And so, you know, I think a lot of people who are like stressed out like that make poor decisions with their lives because they're like, well, I need to be stuck in this job because it's stable. Like all the people on the syndicated shows, it looks like they're kind of just resigned. They're kind of like, this is a great thing I have going because everyone else needs to look for a job in like a few months, and I just get to stay here.
We heard a story of somebody in a syndicated show who literally does their comic book project or webcomic at the job, and because he's sort of like been there for forever and gets his work done, I assume they just don't say anything.
Yeah.
So I guess he's making it work. You know, there are ways of making it work, you know.
and you know,
but I don't think it's not fun to feel like you're trapped, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
What?
Trapped.
I mean, that's what you felt.
Yeah, because at a certain point I realized I was never gonna get laid off because
that's what you were hoping for, right?
Yeah,
they were hoping for you to lay you off on DuckTales.
I really was hoping that like whatever, at a certain point I just really wanted to be laid off so that I can like go at a good time. Like the time was just never right, it seemed like. And I was lucky, like again, like when you feel that way, you feel like, oh, I'm so lucky to be in this position where like everyone else feels like they're really not in a stable position, but I had like connections, I had people like jobs lined up, and I knew because it was offered to me several times, like promotions were always just like on my doorstep, and I was just like,
no,
I'm so tired. And I know I wouldn't be tired if I wasn't doing this. So I'm like, please just lay me off when the season's done. Which I think is like a hilarious place to be in, because everyone else is like the opposite. They're like I need to get hired, or like I need stability. But now, what's really interesting now, it's like the difference between you, who's still in the industry and on this kind of like hamster wheel, mouse wheel, and you want to take a break now because you're feeling all the like, man, I just want. It's not like you want to take a break to like chill. You want to take a break to like be more creative, but on your own terms.
Yeah, I want to make the art.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Versus me, this idea of, I guess, burnout, like, I guess is what we're talking about. There's a difference, I think, between like employee burnout and YouTuber burnout. Because...
Or creator, any sort of internet creator.
Yeah,
burnout.
Entrepreneur in general, I think is what it is. Employee burnout is kind of like, it happens really slowly and it creeps up on you until one day you're like, I need like a month. I don't think in the first like few years you were working, I don't think you were like, I'm burnt out. It wasn't until like now you're like, okay, I need a break. You know what I mean? It just added on little by little, day after day of like fatigue. But for creators or entrepreneurs, I think we just get tired. Like, so I don't think I ever really need like a vacation the same way I really needed one when I was working.
Mm-hmm.
It feels different. Like when I'm burnt out, or when I'm like I felt it maybe once or twice already in this whole year, and it just like it's cured by sleep, and like maybe a few days or however long to just like not
It's
think
also
about work.
cured by the sense of, wow, I can just take a moment to just not do anything.
Yeah.
Because it always feels like life is going by so fast when you're
Yeah.
working. Whereas when we went to Arizona for like 5 days or something like that, life really slowed down, and I could really just enjoy sitting on the porch of that Airbnb and just like sitting. And that's never the case when I'm here constantly working.
Yeah, like I get to choose when I relax and
Yeah.
and when I don't. And I think for some people that might be a nightmare, because a lot of people would just choose to always work. But like I really do feel it's slightly different.
Totally.
I like I said, you feel like you just need sleep, or you just need like some time to not think about work, which for some people it is really hard to stop thinking about their entrepreneurial goals and growth and all this stuff. But if you can get there to a place where like, okay, on the week I have weekends. I'm not gonna think about work on the weekends. Because when you work for yourself, you can pretty much
Keep working on
keep
the weekends
working
if you
forever
want.
if you want. Yeah. So it's different. It's like controlling your mind more, whereas like as an employee, you're like, in a way, you have to go to work if you have to go to work. I can choose, like I'm my own boss, I can just choose to like chill because I did
Which
so
you
much.
do very rarely still.
But I do have to like plan for time for myself, because the entrepreneurial life is that like I can technically keep working forever and ever. I need to plan out days, or vacation time or whatever, and also plan like logistically, monetarily. So it's interesting though that I never feel the way I felt at Disney.
And how did you feel at Disney?
Like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. Like if I chose this, I felt like I had two paths that opened up in front of me, and I was like, if I choose the Disney employee career, and I really like make this a thing, where will I be in the next 10 years, and what will life look like? And it'll be like, okay, I'm gonna try my best to stay in this industry and make it my career for as long as possible. And I'm year after year, decade after decade, I'm gonna be sitting here working 8 hours, and then like maybe getting some work done on the weekend, maybe doing this other thing, but then like I'll constantly be like living for the weekends, and like occasionally taking 2 weeks off a year, and just dreaming of the day I get to retire, if I get to retire. And I saw that life, and I was like, okay, that sounds exhausting, but not in a good way. Like exhausting, like man, that's a really dull life. And then I thought of my other path where like I can like work really hard for myself, and I can do as much as I want, like go as hard as I possibly can, but then I can also like choose what I want to do. And what I want to do is never to take a break, really. It's always to do
The
this,
creative
or
thing that you want
that,
to do. Yeah.
or
the
do
thing
that,
you wanna do.
and whatever it is that I personally decide I want to do. And I also didn't want to live for the weekends, because I was like, what I want to enjoy every second I am working. Which is, I don't know, maybe a strange want, to enjoy every second that I work.
You want to not enjoy every second of your life, but make sure that every second matters.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it matters.
Yeah. Now
Now it feels like it matters.
Yeah.
It really matters because every single thing you do to keep this afloat, it's like it's on you.
Yeah, I have the opposite problem now, where like I felt like my life was really, really dull, and time no longer mattered. It just all blends together. Now it's like I have the opposite stress, which is like everything matters. I think a lot of YouTubers or entrepreneurs will like get it when I say like, at first it feels like you can't have even 1 second of break because you need to give so much into this thing, and if you stop, it's like the end of the world. But that's like the insane motivated, driven person inside of you talking, and it's like you realize, oh, I can like chill for a day, or like
it's a long life.
Yeah. And it won't just burn up in flames. So I guess that's the difference between you and me.
I'm willing to be okay with that. This never seeing the end of the light, or what is it? Was that light at the end of the tunnel? Yeah, that's fine.
I was saying that I think you'd actually be different if you hadn't gone to Art Center. I was saying like I think you'd be more like me if you hadn't worked really hard in school.
Yeah, have school and beat the shit out of me. I used to have ambitions, man. I used to have dreams, man.
I think you wouldn't be as, I guess, comfortable or okay with not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. You're like, it's like it's more stable than what I'm doing is what I'm saying.
I look at what you're doing all the time and I go, I wouldn't trade places with you at all. Never. There's just so much. You are, I don't know, there's just so many things that you do. You're an accountant, you're a director, you're a planner, you wear so many hats beyond the obvious, which is like be a YouTube person in front of camera and draw and do your weird finance stuff. You do so much, and I go like, no, I just want to do two things. I want to sit here and draw for and make money, and then I want to make stuff with music over there when I'm done, and that's it. And I don't want to upload, and I don't want to hashtag on Instagram, and I don't want to post because the algorithm, and I don't want to give a shit about likes and followers. I just want to be left alone. That's where I'm at right now. I just want to be left alone, and I want to work, and then I want to make my art, and I want to be left alone. I don't want to post anything. I don't want to take care of the Shopify numbers and the algorithm and the SEO and taking all these, building a course. Oh my God.
But I think, if it weren't for Art Center, you'd have more energy and you would want to.
Maybe. I was a fiery, competitive soul in my youth. I am a jaded, dull husk of a man. If that. I'm just a thing of mush. I'm just a mushy thing. But I'm enjoying my life as a mushy thing, so that's good.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about that. We'll see where you are at the end of your break and what you want to do in your life.
We'll see about that. All right. We'll see what it's like. I'll live that YouTuber life for that month, and we'll see if I like it or not.
I actually think you would love all the parts that...
This isn't my first time doing this. I've been so reluctant to do this with you, and I was always thinking like, can I just not be in the vlogs? Because I've done this before. It's not really that fun. I don't care what these strangers think about us. Like I really don't. Like, why do I have to do this? And then it just clicked in my head that like, oh, these vlogs, they are for us.
Yeah.
and they are for us to look back, you know, at this, like, I don't know, life after Disney thing. It's for us to look back when we're really, really old.
Yeah.
And if we're happy and if we both approve the final cut of each life after Disney vlog, that's as much dopamine as I need. I don't need the approval of other people, because this is a record of our lives and I enjoy it. So that's that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why people just assume it, but people always think when anything anyone ever does on the internet is for attention. But like, I don't in general like being on camera or being like an internet personality.
I don't like doing my hobbies or working and adjusting the camera. And
yeah.
Even though it is a little bit easy, a lot more easy for me to be in front of the camera than you, I think it's a hassle and it's such a waste of, I just want to do the thing. But
like the way I think about it is like the same reason why I really liked our old webcomic. But yeah, the vlogs are for us to remember years and years and years later, 10 years later, whenever, when we're old, we can have this little, we'll know what 2020 and quarantine was like.
And this podcast too is also, I guess the word is for posterity.
Yeah.
You know, I'm shocked at how many we've made already. And I look back and I'm like, wow, man, when we started and where we are now, not the same world even.
Yeah.
Not the same world. And, you know, you guys were there for all of it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy.
Like, in a way, the podcast is kind of like a documentation of our thoughts and our opinion at our age in this point in time. And then who knows, maybe our opinions will change when we get older or whatever, and we have like hours and hours of our voice in our heads like just telling us what young 20-something-year-old versions of ourselves used to feel and think. And then our vlog is kind of like, this is what our life is like in 2020. Yeah. I think that's what vlogs were always meant to be, even for the people who are a little bit more attention seeking. Like you can't craft a vlog without thinking about that. So I wonder like why everyone thinks this is all for attention. When people do vlogs for attention, it's like, oh, look at me, look at my great life. It's like, no, it's just
It's just a life.
Yeah, it's just a life
behind the
but
camera.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice for us. 10 years later. But anyway,
to have that to look back at.
Yeah.
So, recommendation time. I recommend listening to Radiohead if you haven't already. I mean, this is a very simple recommendation. If you haven't already, please do. Please start. You can start from the very beginning and follow their albums till the very end. But there's a lot of hullabaloo behind Radiohead, and I love Radiohead. There's not enough kind, amazing words to describe how much I love this band, so I'm not going to waste everybody's time. But I think on a artistic level, it's really neat to watch this band transform into the band they are now, because the start point versus where they are now, they don't sound the same at all. Yeah. I mean, there's I mean, I made you listen to them recently, and you can hear traces of it, but you would never believe where they'd go. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I am someone who is not very into or knowledgeable about music. So it took me a while to get into Radiohead. And yeah, their music's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would play them when we first started dating. You're like, turn that off. It's making me sleepy.
No.
But I highly recommend starting with Pablo Honey, the very first album. It doesn't matter if you like that album or not. All the Radiohead people are like, oh, why are you starting there? Like, I think it's really neat. Let's say as neat of an activity as watching Star Wars A New Hope all the way to, the piece of shit it became now. Just to see how the art just kind of grew or disintegrated in time, and to be able to see, I made you listen to the very first album, very, heavy pop rock, lots of texture, and you seem to like it. You seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, Vincent has been giving me a rock music history course, I guess, as someone who knows like nothing about music. So like,
tell people how it got started.
Well,
because I was the one who got you into movies like crazy.
Oh yeah.
So I did the same thing for music because I'm a crazy person.
How it got started, I'm not sure.
I mean,
you just realize that like,
yeah.
I'm kind of a blank slate because I don't know if any other people with immigrant parents could relate, but like my parents didn't listen to anything other than their weird Chinese music in the car. So like I didn't even know of like the top 90s stations until like high school. And so it's like I'm an alien that got like teleported down to Earth, and I woke up in, I don't know what year it was, 20 whatever, and I was like, what is music? What is this thing you humans call music?
You don't know anything about music.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
Not a single thing.
I didn't know like bands that everyone knew.
You barely knew pop stuff.
Yeah, I barely. So you're like, wait,
there's some things you need to check out.
Yeah, so you made me listen to like a lot of other bands before leading up to Radiohead, because I think like the alien, the person who knows nothing about music cannot just jump into Radiohead. You need like to understand where rock music came from and like punk and all this stuff before you lead into Radiohead. And then so you did that for me, and so I listened to a bunch of other bands, and then finally I know enough to listen to Radiohead and actually appreciate their music.
So what did you think of the first two albums that were more just like traditional British pop rock?
I felt like, I hear where Radiohead is gonna go, because I'm kind of familiar with some of their more popular songs that I've heard on the radio, barely, and so I'd be like, this, I can see what you're saying, like, this music is like, it's similar to other rock music, but it has this really unique flavor to it that I know that they're going to like do more of later on. And then after the first album, I think the second album was when they really like started being more experimental.
The third album is when they started using electronic stuff a lot. And it's just one of those things, again, like as an artist observing other artists, it's really neat to watch them challenge themselves, because the record label told them after the Bends, which was the second album, like, all right, you gonna make another Bends, man? You gonna do it? And Tom's like, no, I want to play with electronic machines. And the record label was like, what? And I mean, like, it was like, if you read or look into this thing, not everybody was on board, but it was one of those, artistic challenges that the band was like, all right, fine, let's do it. Let's lock ourselves in a chapel and let's just see what happens. And then, probably made one of the greatest albums ever.
Yeah, and I can really say, like, man, it really did take all that, like, music education.
Yeah, so for when we first started dating, you listen to something like that and you're like, what the fuck are you listening to?
I didn't know what to make heads or tails of it. Now, what we've been doing is on our morning runs, which are about like an hour.
It's about an album long.
Yeah. So we've been listening to the entirety of a band's albums, from like when they're like the earlier stages of them, and then slowly working our way up. And then once we're done with that band, we move on to the next band.
Yeah. So far we did let's see, Rage Against the Machine, White Stripes, and then we did some grunge. We did Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, all those things. and like just so much more that I'm planning. There's so much that I want to show you, but like we just got started there, and I was like, okay, I think you're ready then. Because I needed you to understand like what the players in the game do, which is why I started with White Stripes with you. I mean, like I could have gone as early as like, oh my God, Little Richard or Elvis or Led Zeppelin. I could have started way back then, but I just wanted you to understand, what are you listening for? Let's just focus on a guitar and a drum. How about that? Let's start there. And then I added more pieces. Like, okay, here's Nirvana. Just like we just added, just one element. And then, here's Red Hot Chili Peppers. There's like the complete traditional 4-piece band right there. So I just needed to help you understand, because when you start listening to Radiohead, it's like, oh, these fuckers are doing crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like crazy shit. There's so much texture.
Yeah, it's actually really great to run to.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting. People don't like sit and listen to entire albums anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Like people just don't really have a short attention span maybe, or they don't do that kind of thing anymore. That's why songs, like people don't make albums anymore. They just make singles for some reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember not understanding that as well, because I'm not like as into music as you, and you like forced me to, like, you sat me down and you put on a vinyl record because you're hipster like that, and and then you were like, you're gonna sit here, you're gonna listen to the entire album, and then we're gonna flip it to side B, and then you're gonna listen to that entire side too. And I was like, isn't that like an entire hour of my time? And you're like, yes, and you're gonna enjoy it. And I did. And I got it after it. I was like, oh, that albums are kind of like portfolios.
They are. That's why I think I told this once, like, I like making portfolios because it's like making an album. It's like a test of everything you got right there in a piece of printed on pieces of paper. If you're making a portfolio, I think I don't know, I miss that entire experience of like having the songs have some sort of theme or through line that aren't just individual pieces. Yeah, it's neat.
Well, that's it for this episode of the Honey and Absinthe podcast. Make sure to smash the like button if you haven't already, because it really does help us out. Like, subscribe, check out these other podcast episodes, and head over to honeyandabsinthe.com to buy our merch. I'm wearing the Run shirt today, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.